Okay, guys. The first question is for you, Chad.
Okay.
What did you think of the music of Unified Theory?
We were big fans of Unified Theory. In fact, there's a direct lineage with Live there. Christopher Thorne was a member of Blind Melon and also came from very close to our hometown in a place called Dover, Pennsylvania, about 20 minutes south of York.
Yeah.
And so my mom and Christopher's mom knew each other, I guess, in high school. And we wound up on the same tour together, MTV's 120 Minutes tour, where we were supporting Big Audio Dynamite and PIL.
And when is this?
Probably 1991. And then, anyway, Shannon Hoon passed away, and we invited Christopher Thorne to basically be a sideman with Live during the Distance to Hear era, mostly touring work. And Chris just wasn't cut out for that life. He was cut out to have his own band, and he came to us about a year after he was with the band and said, I want to go form my own band. And that band was Unified Theory. And so he was officially really the first to discover Chris Shinn. And then they wrote and recorded a record, and Live was touring. And he sort of said, uh-oh.
Just continue. Yeah?
The look on her face was awesome. But anyway, he said that, you know, sort of her payback for, you know, playing with Live, he was like, I really wish you should take our band on tour. And we loved the record. The record was brilliant. And so it was Counting Crows, Live, and Unified Theory. And in fact, during that tour, Chris Shinn wound up being a frequent guest performer with us. You were on the stage all the time.
Yeah.
Why?
It was a happenstance. I mean, one of the shows we played in Minnesota. Or
mostly for his good looks.
Yeah, they wanted me up there to... Ed actually pulled me up on stage and just gave me the microphone. And
what song did you do?
I don't remember. I think y'all were jamming, and it was before you went into either.
I think it was I Alone.
Okay.
It was I Alone.
Was it during the bridge or something?
I don't know. He told you what key it was.
Yeah, he did. He goes, "It's in G."
Excuse me.
And he hands me the mic, and I do all that little Indian, riffing, and I started doing that, and then after the show, Ed came to me and was like, "Damn it! Now we got to do that every night." He's like, angels and birds sort of flying around the stage when you started singing. So every night I would come up, he'd pull me out on stage, and it was just a lot of fun, and that's kind of how we all kind of met.
Yeah.
But one step back, Christopher, you mentioned. How did he discover you?
Christopher, well, it's funny. After Shannon passed away, all the guys in Blind Melon were being sent tapes of singers, and I was one of the first guys they got Celia Green, my old stuff, and they all had heard me like years before Unified Theory, but they weren't even ready to even consider a new band or anything like that. And at that point in my life, I didn't want to be the guy that's filling in. I didn't want to be a lead singer of Blind Melon. That was not what I was aspiring to be. Christopher Thorne, after a couple of years of, they mourned properly, and he was ready to move on. And he actually, at the time, they lived in Seattle, and he decided to get a little apartment in Los Angeles and came down, and he spent like the better part of a year just hanging out in LA and meeting singers and meeting people. And somehow he got a hold of me, and we just hit it off. And I flew to Seattle like a week later, and in 2 weeks' time we recorded 2 songs with Dave Cruzen from Pearl Jam, and that was that was signed, sealed. I mean, we just had such a great time. That's how that all kind of came together.
And if you look back on the time, what did you think of Live back then?
Oh, I was always a huge fan. I kind of got lost after Secret Samadhi. I think a lot of fans did.
Why?
Well, I think the music changed a little bit, in my opinion.
I was in the band and I was lost.
Yeah. I mean, I was definitely a fan, and when we got the opportunity to open for Live, that was huge. I mean, that was amazing.
Why did you get lost in after Secret Somebody?
I think that for me it was really after The Distance to Here.
That's what I meant. It was after Distance.
Well, I want to say this. You know, The Distance to Here was supposed to be such a different record. There was all these wonderful outtakes that are, you know, really hard rock songs, and that's more what I have a tendency to gravitate towards. And then I always tell everybody I'm a guitar player second. I'm really a creator and an artist first. So I'm a songwriter first and foremost. And the guitar just happens to be the means that the songs get channeled through. You know, I'm not, you know, like your traditional lead guitar player or whatever. And so for me, the main outlet of Live was always the songwriting. And basically, the last, I don't know, couple Live records, Ed wrote all on his own, and I was...
background musician.
Well, no, yeah, I've become a side musician, really.
Yeah, a side man.
And I would be a terrible choice as a side musician. I mean, that's not what I really do. So I wasn't serving the band or Ed or really the fans with what I do best.
Funny that you mentioned, because I wrote down that the first 3 albums, I don't know if it's true, but the lyrics were from Ed and the music was by Live. Mm-hmm. And from The Distance to Here, it changed maybe towards Ed writing most of the songs and you, well, contributing to a certain song. But how come this happened?
I don't know. You'd have to ask Ed that. I mean, really.
No, but you were there too.
Yeah, I was there. I mean, I fought a lot.
Okay.
At the time. I fought for my place and my position. One of the things is I have to say that I thought that it was maybe a trend, and I wanted to be a good friend, and I wanted to support, you know, my bud through that position and through that time period. And then, you know, I don't know. I didn't want to create tension. I didn't want to be in an unhappy place. I was just, you know, you can go back almost, my oldest daughter's 16 years old, and you can go almost back exactly 16 years and find where the music started to splinter and go apart. Probably because I started paying more attention to being a dad and being a family guy than, whereas, you know, every year of my life up until then was all consumed with writing music. And so I don't think that there's anyone to blame. It just, I don't know, it's just part of the story and part of the way it went.
But it's funny then that, I don't know if it's true, but once you started writing less for Live, the success got less. Is there some sort of...
That's what I was implying earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, you know, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. You know, listen, I have to say, you know, Ed and I in particular, we fought tooth and nail, side by side for so many years to build Live. I certainly don't want to detract or take away from what we did as a band. Having said that, though, it was becoming a different band. I think that, though, the entire band had really become disenfranchised. We probably remained together as a unit for far too long. You know, this is now, with Chris joining the band, we're going into our 30th consecutive year of making music. I mean, at some point during that long journey, I mean, we should have probably allowed each other more space. We probably, frankly, toured too much. We were always on a tour bus together. We were always traveling together. I just don't think there was space to grow as men and as musicians, etc. But what really helped in Live was that when Ed got clear that he wanted to make solo music, and Chad, Patrick, and I got clear that we wanted to make ensemble music, it sort of made parting ways very simple. We finally understood what each other wanted, and then in that, you know, one of the things that you learn is that you want your best, you know, the best spirit and your best intention for your bandmates. So my job was to support whatever would make Ed happy, which was a solo career, and then also support whatever would make Chad, Patrick, and I happy, which is ensemble music, and that's what we're, you know, that's what Live is known for doing, is making ensemble music.